Okay, good morning and welcome to chapter one of the Living Marriage. We've made it past the introduction to actually the first chapter. I want to admit I have gotten a lot, maybe a medium amount of pushback of me actually starting and trying to learn the Sefer on air. Posted on my YouTube channel, even though it's not really live, and a lot of people are not really actively looking at it right now. One day they might. Specifically, my mother. My mother heard my first two shir on the preface and introduction, and as you could be expected from a book which talks about marital intimacy, bia. I'm not going to say the other word. I'll tell you why in a second. Um, they say, how can you can't learn something like this, especially some of the situations I described in the introduction. Um, the graphic nature of my language, um, you know, which makes a lot of sense, which is topic, because that's really how you talk about this topic, because you have to give examples, you have to talk about it, So, uh, my mother was saying that maybe it's not a good idea. Maybe take a different book. The reason I'm continuing um, is because I asked myself at the end of the day. I said, "Who am I giving this share for? Why am I doing this day for? What am I doing over here on my YouTube channel?" And the answer is that first and foremost, this is a channel for me. For me, um, I feel I've learned many years. I have a lot to give over. I enjoy giving over the shiurim, and this is a topic which I enjoy a lot talking about. I've worked on my marriage a lot, especially in the area this book talks about. Um, and it's something most people would find interesting. I personally find it very interesting. I don't think anyone in the world wouldn't find this topic very interesting. So, to me, I do it first and foremost for me. And that's what I have to ask myself at the end of the day. Who am I doing it for? If I'm one of those people that are trying to pander, to cater to a specific audience, I want them to watch my YouTube videos. That's why I'm on YouTube. I want to get viewers. I want to get paid. I want to get monetized. Um, and that's what I'm doing it just for approval from others, then maybe I would stop, because maybe this topic is too taboo right now for the Jewish world, especially the from Jewish world. So maybe I shouldn't talk about it, and maybe it'll detract. Maybe people won't subscribe to me, or won't listen to me. But I said to myself, listen, I do it for myself, and the thing I'm selling on my channel is myself, is my uniqueness, as opposed to other channels, which a lot of them, sometimes I've seen clips of this, people just cut out, interviews of other people, or cut out plays from a basketball game. You're just trying maybe to maybe be successful on YouTube, to become monetized. I need to make money off of YouTube. That's not why I'm on YouTube. I'm on YouTube because this is me. I'm branding myself. I enjoy it myself. And my success in YouTube is tied down to my personality, to myself. And I have to be true to myself. And that's really true to myself, is reading this book and learning this book. And in terms of, my mother, another concern, talking about a topic like this, is a very private topic. Um, and when I give examples about this, you could think that I'm talking about my own marriage. Um, to that, I'll respond that what I say, I'm not going to really talk about personally what happens on life. I will give examples, because I think examples are very important. But it's very possible those examples I'm giving are not from my own experience in marriage, but could be from, movies I've seen, or things I've read, or videos I've seen from other places, or discussions I've had with people. I'm not going to tell you where the things I know them from, but I will talk about them specifically. The other thing people had in terms of the language I'm using, whether it's graphic language, or certain words to use, because the audience, especially the ultra orthodox audience, from Jewish audience, is not used to things like this. It really is taboo. Even though this person who wrote this book is published, as I mentioned, by a really from person who was very close to all the Gedolim, and he put it on a Judaica store, on the shelves of Judaica stores, in English for everyone to read, even 15-year-old kids to walk into the Judaica store and read. Nonetheless, you don't want to leave a bad taste in people's mouths, and if there's a way that I can bridge Personally, I'm the type of person that I like to just express things and say the truth. Say it from the horse's mouth. Say exactly what I want to say, with the language I want to say, because that's more true to who I am. But there is a certain sensitivity of the listeners, and ultimately I do put it on YouTube because I want people to listen. Right? This is really who I am. That's why I choose to learn a book like this. But I will try to tone down the language a little bit. I'm not going to tone down the examples that I'm going to talk about, because even though the author feels, as I mentioned in the introduction, it's not important you shouldn't be talking examples. I think to leave out the examples in a book like this is really missing the whole point, because that's what we had. That was the main discussion over here. Without giving practical examples or practical stories or practical, proof to what I'm saying, it renders most of it meaningless. So without further ado, let's start chapter 1. Why do we get married? Why do we get married? This was mentioned in the introduction. Let's just start with the author. Why do people get married? This is a question that anyone who is married, or even planning to marry, should be able to answer. Yet for some reason, when asked this question, even many married people hesitate to answer and present explanations that are far from complete. Many people simply reply that everyone gets married, or apologetically admit that they were under a lot of pressure from their parents. Others take a more religious approach, explaining that's the will of God. That's what I thought. Or the only way to fulfill the commandment to have children. Again, another thing I thought. Others believe that marriage allows one to improve one's virtuous character traits, such as giving and patience. Another thing that I also thought, there's certainly an aspect of truth to all these points. It is the will of God that one gets married. It may also be an opportunity to improve one's character traits, and it is an opportunity to bring children into the world. Yet, one understands this is the reason for marriage is making a very fundamental mistake. He continues that really God, sometimes we think that by getting married, we're doing the Ratzon of Hashem. But as he mentions, this is really important. I really agree with this. He says, there's a very common misconception regarding the daily goodness that God showers on us, not just getting married and having a wife. Does God want us to enjoy the good he gives us in this world? Often, due to the effects of Christian influence, this is very true, innocent Jews are led to believe they must not enjoy any good that God gives them. Rather, it's all just for his sake. They should be able to serve himself with no personal enjoyment. People say, if you ask a person, you sit them down and you say, does God want you to enjoy the world? Certainly, of course, God wants me to enjoy the world. However, oftentimes when I was in yeshiva, I heard stories, crazy stories, and read Moshe's Forum, they all seem to say that you're not supposed to get enjoyment from the world. Even the words of the Shulchan Aruch, he talks about when you're together with your wife, he says that you should view it as your porei chov, like paying back a debt that you owe to your wife. The mitzvah of ona, you owe your something to your wife. You should view it as nothing more than paying a debt back to your wife. Who likes to pay back a debt? You owe money to someone. You'd rather not owe money to someone, right? You'd rather not borrow money, right? So you got married. You owe this to your wife. So do it for your wife. It's always talking about doing it for the wife. There's a lashon of the Shulchan Aruch, he says. So if you look at the sources, or the source of the Judaic sources, without this book over here, without the author telling you, this is what you would think, right? I heard famous story I heard when I was in yeshiva. There was a certain person, maybe in Europe, I don't know, 1900s. I don't know if it's a true story, just an example, but he got up in the middle of the night. He was really thirsty. But he was lazy. He didn't want to get out of bed. So he didn't want to go to the refrigerator or the well. I don't know, maybe to go to the well to get water. So he said, on the one hand, right, if I don't get out of bed, it means I have a bad midah of laziness. On the other hand, if I do get out of bed and I drink water because I'm really thirsty at night, it's taiva. Now, this is really a Christian idea. It's taiva to drink water when you're thirsty. If you're thirsty for water, God made you thirsty for water. God wants you. This is not just you want to enjoy yourself. You're not drinking champagne over here. You're drinking water, the most basic, tasteless drink there is. But he says, so what did the guy do? He got out of bed, he went to the well, he poured himself a cup of water, and he didn't drink it. So this way, he wasn't lazy, and he also didn't have the taiva, he also didn't engage in the pleasure of drinking water. This is a story that was circulated. I heard this numerous times when I was in yeshiva. And really, this is what you get, the message you get from the Moshe's Forum, things like that, and the Shulchan Aruch, and these stories, really, you think that. You hear stories about Gedolim. I mentioned this many times, this story with this Gadol. He went to America, and not only he demanded that he would only come to America, to a certain community, if not only were there no women on the floor that he was in, or in the apartment that he was in, the entire apartment complex had to have no women in it for the entire Shabbos he was there. So this person, the person who owned the apartment complex, he wanted this big rabbi to come. So he said, I'm giving everyone hotel vouchers. They all go to the hotel. They were all happy. These people got a free hotel for Shabbos. They all left. He gets to the apartment complex. He's like, I can't go in. Why can't you go in? There's still a woman in there. But I told everyone to leave. We gave them hotel vouchers. All right, let's check. They check. There's one old lady, 60, 70-year-old woman. She a little late. She hadn't got out. So everyone says, wow, Roj Ruach HaKodesh, unbelievable. He's able to sense that a woman is in there. But, no. This is not good. Why do you care if there's a woman in the building? This is not something that should bother you. You don't want to be together with a woman who's not your wife. That's an issur in the Torah. But it's taking these... it's really, precious. Precious is talked about in Mesilas Yesharim, but it's a stepping stone to get to higher levels. Kedusha, which the Mesilas Yesharim says is to enjoy the world, which this author makes very clear over here. All right, that's the ultimate purpose: is to enjoy the world, enjoy it in the right way, at the right time and in the right moment, in the right way. So that's just what he starts off with, and the author says this very clearly. It's so important that he says it because it really is true. He continues, the author, talking about what is a person, Spiritual Anatomy 101, what is a person. He talks about the purpose of marriage, right? The purpose of marriage, he says, is that a man is a half a person, right? A woman is half a person, a man is half a person. When they get married, they become a complete person. He quotes from the Gur Aryeh, which is one of, I think it's a Sfas Emes, one of the Ger Rebbes. Before they're married, they're called half a person. When they get married, they're complete. He says this, we learn from the Torah, right? You should leave your parents. He says, of course, the Gemara in Yevamos over here, the Gemara says, I call them she'ein lo isha shari b'lo simcha b'lo bracha b'lo tova. It's not just that you're half a person, so you're half full, like a gas tank that's half full and not, completely empty. He says you have nothing. And the Stipler says, he quotes the Stipler that says, don't think he's just talking about people that are not married. People who are married but don't have a good shalom bias, they don't have good marital harmony, they're nothing without each other. You're a zero. It says people they don't have simcha, they're depressed. This is true in the world, that a person who's not married, and that's why it's pushed so much here in the frum world that marriage is so important, so essential. Because you're only allowed to be with another woman if you get married. So you got to get married because you're only half a person. He says that a zachar and a nekeva, when they're together, they form one complete person, that shleimus, that completion of a person. Now, he doesn't specify exactly what it means. He talks about that when you marry a woman, you get the female side of you. When a female marries a man, she gets the masculine side of her. Like I mentioned in the introduction, he talks about this unification. The purpose of marriage is a unification. That's the point, is to unify the man and the woman, and B'shas Tashmish, when they're together in the bedroom. So that is the ultimate unification of the couple and bringing them together. And that is the goal. The goal is to unify and to become yourself, to get that feminine part if you're a man, and the masculine part if you're a woman. And they get that through the dveikus, the ultimate dveikus, the bodily dveikus when they're together. I'm not using the S word right now. We'll discuss maybe later on. If people will get used to this topic, we can use it again. So that's the point of marriage. And with this, I think he's onto something, the author, but I just would like to explain it the way I understand it a little better, especially after 5 years of marriage. I don't think the point of marriage is unification, is to be complete with yourself. A zivug, right? A zivug is a pair. A zivug is a pair. The Gemara talks about kashas zivugam kriyas yamsuf. The Gemara in Sota says it's hard to get your zivug, and I really ultimately believe that marriages nowadays, everyone says, "Oh, you found your basher, you found the right person for you." I don't believe that's true. Otherwise, right? The concept of divorce, people get a second wife, third wife. They don't make which one is the zivug. I don't think you find your zivug, like the Gemara says. Kasha Kriyas Yamsuf. It's hard like Kriyas Yamsuf. Kriyas Yamsuf happened one time. That's all it happened one time. You think every time a person gets married, it's like Kriyas Yamsuf. We don't experience miracles. It's a miracle. We don't have miracles nowadays. People get married and you learn to live with each other. When I talked about Isha Ra, how could it be if she's your Zivug, how could she be a bad wife? I mean, it should be the best thing for you. What it's about working on your midos? No, it's supposed to be the best life for you. That's what we ultimately like to believe. The fairy tale we like to believe is that when you get married, you meet the other half of you, and that's what he's talking about. You're a half. You meet your other half. I don't believe that. That's not true, and I still feel that in terms of if you want to deal with this topic in the right perspective, especially the bedroom, you have to talk about people that are not necessarily, you have to take for granted, they're not necessarily the right person for each other. And therefore, when you're making a negotiation, a business negotiation, you have to do something. If you want to get a good deal done, it should be fair for both parties, and there should be communication in the bedroom. There should be talk about what's fair, what each one enjoys. Each other person should make clear what they enjoy, so that the other spouse knows. Because we're not Nevi'im, we don't always know what the other person wants. It should be clear what you want and how you want it done, and people should be cognizant not of what they want, but also try to figure out how to accomplish it in the best way. They both should enjoy the experience of the bedroom, and the bedroom is very important because that's the ultimate need. Like he said, the reason people get married, he said in the introduction, is to be able to be together, not just to unify, to complete yourself. It's for the enjoyment in the bedroom, like really he's talking about. That's the main part of marriage, because that's why people get married in the Jew of the frum world. You have to get married to experience being together. So, and that's really the deepest urge and the deepest drive, deepest hunger in a person is for this, is for being together, both for a man and for a woman. What he mentions over here about that you're acquiring a female side to yourself when you get married, and a woman is acquiring a masculine side to herself. I believe this is true. I believe there is truth to this, but not exactly what it's like some metaphysical thing that just happens. You marry a woman and you're in tuned to physical things, to female side of yourself. I believe that every person has a male and a female side to himself, and men that are in connection, that are connected to their feminine side, not that they're women, but they're connected to their feminine side, it helps them have a better relationship with their wife. Their wife's going to like them a lot more, because if you're in touch with your feminine self, so that the woman can connect to that. She's a female. She can connect to your feminine side. It's very hard for females to connect to the man's side, to connect to the man's addiction to sports, his addiction to competition, his addiction sometimes to politics, things like that. Now, these are manly type of things that men like to talk about, or business, how much money you're making. These are men like to talk about these things. Women are not so interested. Women are more interested in emotions. They're more interested in love. They're more interested in hearing nice stories. They're more interested in, having a good time, going out for dinner and things like that, taking a walk, or clothing that they buy for the kids, clothing they buy for themselves, the shaitels, what shaitel they're going to wear, what jewelry they're going to wear. If you're a person, you're a man, and you get married, I don't think it's just an automatic thing. You become in touch with your feminine self. If you pay attention to these things, and I have paid attention to these things a lot in the past 5 years, I know kids' clothes better than my wife. I know Shaitel is just as good as my wife. I know diamonds good. I just bought, we just went to the jeweler, and I got a diamond ring for my wife, and there's a Hasidic lady. She's selling the diamonds to me, and I'm like, so tell me what's the clarity of the diamond? What's the color of the diamond? If you know diamonds, there's the 4 C's. Cut, carat, but the other two, color and clarity, could affect the price of a diamond. Could double the price, triple the price. There's clear diamonds and there's yellow diamonds. So those are opposite ends of the spectrum. And then you have clarity, whether there's included, whether there's blemishes on top, blemishes in the middle of the stone. These things make a big difference in the value. So I'm saying to the woman, I say, tell me, you're selling it for this price. You're telling me, how many carats total weight it is. It was a number of small diamonds. I said, tell me, what's the color? What's the clarity? I don't know. I said, lady, you're dealing with diamonds over here. You're dealing with diamonds. She takes a little white paper bag. She puts the diamonds in. I say, get some nice bags. Get some nice velvet bags. You're putting the diamonds in. This is worth money. She She's like, maybe she says, you know, maybe a joke to me, maybe you should come work for me or something like that. I said, listen, come on, lady, you gotta. And well, the funny part is that I bought something. I was holding something in a. I bought like a bag. I had a plastic bag with me, and then it was like a Ziploc bag, and she's like, I'll take that for myself. Like, she took the bag for me for herself. She a Ziploc bag. She has paper brand, those like brown lunch bags. She had little paper white bags. I mean, it's terrible the way she treats the jewelry. So it's very like, and she didn't know, but she said she would look out for me, and I did pick up the ring for my wife last night, and the person did write, what the color and the clarity of the diamond was. It happened to be very, very good color and very good clarity. If that person was telling me the truth, um, but it's just funny that. So I know these things. I know diamonds better than a woman who sells diamonds. I know these things. I know, different styles of shaitels. I know different styles of clothing, both for women and for children. Children's clothing is very important to women. Um, I know about foods. Women are very into cooking. Gotta know. I know how to cook a little bit. I know about foods, spices, and things like that. You got to be familiar with all these topics, and marriage, it doesn't automatically get you in touch with the feminine side of yourself, but if you pay attention, you have a good relationship with your wife. Doesn't apply just in the bedroom, also outside the bedroom. Of course, if you're attuned to what's going on in the bedroom and you're careful with her needs, the woman's needs, right? Not just in the bedroom, but also outside the bedroom, to constantly touch your wife, to hug your wife, to kiss your wife. Not necessarily in the bedroom. These are things a woman craves. She always wants that. She, Literally, a woman would always want her husband. She want her husband to hug her 24/7. Technically, just a hug. That's all they want. But that is an emotional need, and you have to be in touch with that. And if you can be in touch with that feminine side, if you're not married or you're not around women, it's very hard to figure out this feminine side that you have within yourself. But if you are around women and you are around your wife, you can figure it out, and your wife will love you then. And it's so much better a marriage when you feel that your wife loves you. If you feel that your wife loves you and she's attracted to you, so you feel so much better. You feel it gives you importance, it gives you value. When you feel that, she's doing you a favor, she got married because in seminary they told you got to get married and you got to work 24/7 at a job as an accountant and do all the cleaning and cooking by yourself, and the husband will learn kollel the entire day and come home once at night to get his dinner and then leave to go to night kollel. You know, you might be learning Torah all day. Maybe that's all you want is to learn Torah, but you won't feel valued by your wife because she doesn't really like you. But if you have in touch with that feminine side, you're able to play games with her and to have fun with her, to hang out with her and schmooze with her and talk with her about things that interest her, then you will feel loved. And vice versa. It applies also about a woman. A woman who gets married, she's not attuned to what a man really interested. If she's able to pick up on the cues that her husband gives her and come in contact with her masculine side, even though she doesn't enjoy it so much, that endear her to her husband, and feel a lot more love between them and a lot more value. Each person will feel more valued because they're loved by their spouse. I heard a story once on a podcast whenever someone was talking. A guy, I don't know, a man, I'm going to tell you who it is, someone on social media, and he was saying once, I hate going out for Shabbos meals, we go to these group meals and people are always talking about their blinds, they're talking about what blinds or what curtains look nice in the living room. I don't want to talk about that. I'm like, hey, mister, listen, if you want your wife to love you and you want, listen, I'm not going to mention so much about this. I did mention that I believe that monogamy is not the ultimate solution, but you always want to be attractive to women, to your wife, and if one day you're no longer married to that woman, so you want to be attractive to women in general, and if there was ever a possibility of polygamy, you'd want to be, and people who are in the dating scene, they want to be attractive to as many women as possible. So it's not really for Haredi people, but you want to make yourself attractive to women. First, that they should like you and it makes you feel good, and also that you can get a woman, right? That you can actually court a woman. You want the woman for herself, and ultimately to have her in the bedroom with you. So you want the woman, you want to feel value that she likes you, and you want the woman also. So it pays to get in touch with this. And person who doesn't care about home decor and is not into interior design, which is really a woman's type of thing. I'm very attuned to this. I love matching things. I love, setting interior design. I had fun in designing my bedroom, my kids' room. I was hands on in everything. I'm making most decisions myself. My wife would defer to me. We did it together, but I was very into this stuff, and I value it. I enjoy it. It comes that because what he's saying is true, that you have a feminine side also. It's not just that you get in touch with your feminine side, your wife likes you more. You do it for your wife, or that she'll like you. But when you come in touch with the feminine side, you in touch with your feminine side, you become a more complete person, and you actually enjoy that feminine side also. I mean, you can have the enjoyments of both being a man and being a woman. So one person himself, not just when you're together with your wife, you're married with her. Even if you got divorced later on, or one of the wife died, chas v'shalom. So everyone dies eventually. So. Um, but you're in touch with that feminine side. You're a more complete person yourself, with your wife, without your wife. You're more in touch with yourself, and I think that's really the completion of person of being married, is being around the wife. You're able to learn about that feminine side more, get in touch with that feminine side, and help you enjoy life, all aspects of life. Because yes, you'll learn that it's nice to talk about curtains. You'll enjoy curtains. You'll enjoy shopping for curtains. Enjoy matching these things. Uh, Decorating your home. These are things which can be enjoyable, even for a man, believe it or not. Yes, I am a real man. I do enjoy these things. Anyway, that's the conclusion of chapter 1. Stay tuned later in the week for chapter 2. I think anyone who heard this share, even my mother, if she does listen to it, will realize that it's okay to proceed with the rest of the book. It's going to be okay. Hang in there. See you in the next one.